You can access the entire episode now on our website, forbiddenknowledge.news, Rokfin, Rumble, and all podcast platforms. Could you describe some of the objects and UFOs you started to see?
Well, like I said, obviously the star-looking things that appear to be stars, and they'll be changing colors and they'll float around and move. Sometimes just take off into a different part of the sky and disappear. I started noticing those. Those were the most basic things, but with about a year, maybe a year and a half into our relationship, once everything's coming back to me and stuff, and I'm actively sitting in my upstairs, my extra bedroom, sitting there in the window all night at this point, watching all night with my cameras, and I'm seeing things on a nightly basis, and they're ramping up, it seemed like every day. And I was like, wow, I was just in awe all over again. It was strange, man. Like, how did I forget about this? But, usually in my experience, like people ask me all the time, they'll say, man, I go outside at night and, I'll beg for these things to show themselves to me. And for some reason they won't. Why are you so lucky that, you can call them on command and, you get to experience these? I'm coming with a clean heart, I'm sincere about my, my wishes. And I come in peace. And I'm begging them to show themselves to me, but they just won't. And I always say that, they'll normally, in my experience anyway, that these things will give you what you can handle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always like to compare it to like a baby, an infant. You feed them formula or breast milk, whatever, to begin with, and they work their way up to mushy peaches, bananas, whatever it is, and then eventually onto solid food when they can handle it, when they're ready. It's kind of the same way with these UFOs and stuff like that. But all of a sudden one day, as I'm sitting there in that window upstairs, I got a 9-course meal all of a sudden. And I have a list of the top sightings that I've ever had. I have a pretty good top 3, and this one was number 1. And I don't know if anything will ever beat that one and take its place, but it was that was a definite life-changing experience.
Now, with this experience, what exactly was it that you saw that took place?
That's a good question, because I personally don't know of any words in any language that there are to describe what I saw, really. I mean, I can give you a roundabout, but I don't know of any words to describe this thing. There just aren't any. And still to this day, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm sitting there thinking, this is God coming towards me when it was happening. Or the opposite.
So you were just in your room looking at your window?
You're right.
To your best of your ability, describe what you saw.
I'll tell you about it. I'm just saying, I mean, when it comes down to it, there are no words to describe it. I can give you a vague description, and tell you what I thought about it. But as far as detail, it's iffy. But we had a townhouse, and I'm upstairs facing north, in the town of Broken Arrow, is where I lived at the time, which is where I'm at right now, actually. Me and my ex sat there most of the night watching these things and filming them with the phone, and the sun had come up at this point. That's how long I would sit there sometimes. I was so amazed and in all of these things all over again, like a little kid. And the sun was up. It was probably 9:30 in the morning, like almost prime traffic time. There's a major highway that runs about a mile and a half to the north of the apartment I was living in, and like I said, it's prime traffic, rush hour, and I see this white dot on the horizon, as far as I could see up on the horizon to the north. Started off as a shining white dot, and that caught my attention right off, because I was used to seeing those at night, and it kept getting closer and bigger, it seemed. And this went on for a good 5, 6, 7 minutes or so. This thing just slowly getting bigger and bigger. And the closer it got, the more it started to take shape. And I didn't know what the hell was going on at the time. Like I said, once it got a little closer and I could kind of make out a little bit of detail of it, there was also the sky was blacked out as far as you could see to the east and west behind this thing. And that really freaked me out. Like I said, I didn't know if it was God or something else coming towards me. I didn't know what else it could possibly be. This wasn't a UFO as far as I was concerned. I guess you would still classify it as that because it was flying, and I don't know what the hell it was, but it got closer and closer, and at this point, this thing's like hovering right over the Broken Arrow Expressway, which is the highway that runs right in front of the house. And this thing is at least 3 football fields tall and probably 2 wide, and nothing but black, like a sea of churning black behind it as far as you could see either direction. Wow. Following this thing. And the best way I can describe it is it seemed like it might have been part bird, part octopus, maybe part jellyfish, part SpongeBob. I don't know. It was crazy looking. It was absolutely crazy looking, and it was huge. And I remember sitting there thinking, how many people are pulled over on the side of the highway right now watching this thing go over them? You know, I'm like, this is huge. You know what I mean? And all these thoughts are going through my head, and at the same time, I'm a little terrified because I don't know what the hell this thing is, and it's coming right towards me. And the closer it got, I could tell that the churning sea of black behind it was blackbirds.
Really?
I don't know how many billions or gazillions of birds that was to black out the whole sky. Yeah.
What? Wow.
Blackbirds just following this thing, just churning and swirling around. And I'm screaming at her. It was just me and her at home at the time, and she was in the bathroom right next door to the room I was in. And I was screaming, you know, at the top of my lungs, and telling her she's got to get in here and look at this. And at that time, just like several other times when like a massive, you know, sighting I would occur, she seemed really uninterested, which is still kind of strange to me, and it still brings up a lot of questions. You know? Yeah. We won't get into that just yet, but that's a whole other story. But, anyway, I'm watching this thing, and it's getting closer and closer, and I'm thinking it's going to come right up to me, and I'm wondering what I'm going to do. You know, what's going to happen when it gets here? And no one else is there watching it. But finally, she's like, "I'll be there in a minute," whatever. And this thing I'll never forget the way it turned. It slowly turned towards the west, and it's like hovering just above tree line, you know. And the way it's, I hate to try and describe it too much because I don't want to be disrespectful to the being, whatever it may have been. The way I used to describe it was like it's weird legs or tentacles. I don't know what you would call them really. They're something I've never seen before. And I'll never forget the way when it turned towards the west, the way they swayed, you know, as it turned up in the air. And it just baffled me watching this thing move through the sky.
That's
and
crazy.
And it's making its way west. And she finally comes in to the room. I'm screaming the whole time, you know, "Get in here, hurry up!" And she comes up to the window, and I'm like, look at this thing. What the hell is going on? What is that? And it's still very visible, you know what I mean? It's like fading off into the west. It's still, from my perspective, it's like this bigger